Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Welcome to The Process, with me, your host, Adam Sommer. Welcome back to The Process. It's me, your host, Adam Sommer, with a new episode for April 1st, 2025, and zero fooling going on here, just a fresh episode. Thanks for all of you for listening and for joining me here on The Process. Be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating on your podcast listening platform of choice. And if you want to support me in making this show, contributing to my political exploits, you can do so at patreon.com/theprocess. Patreon.com/theprocess. Anybody who signs up over there, $1, $2, $1. I'll leave that in. 1, 2, 5. Those are the levels. No pressure, but love to have folks over there supporting. It helps a lot with the cost of the show. And just, making it easier to do this stuff. So I appreciate everybody who does that over at The Process on patreon.com/theprocess. Also, if you know somebody who you think would be an interesting guest for me to talk to, or if you think you'd be an interesting guest for me to talk to, no shame in that game, email me at theprocessmo@gmail.com. That's theprocessmo@gmail.com. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about a protest and a march from March 29th, this past weekend. There were a lot of events happening across Missouri, and right in my own backyard, a wonderful group of folks came together to make a protest and a march happen. A local leader known as Dr. Love started with a one-man protest, and it grew from there. It was at the protest itself. I was there with my family where this past weekend where we had, from one person starting it, there were at least 300. I've heard 400. I'll buy 350. I think somewhere in there makes a lot of sense. Lots of great community members there to be a part of it. It was peaceful in every way. My family was there. My wife, our 3 kids were there. They had signs. My about to be 4-year-old had a sign that she had made herself, and it was just a lot of squiggly lines. And frankly, it got a lot of love because people were like, yeah, no, she nailed it, right? Just chaos in her sign. And we had Clara there in her chair, and she loves being outside. She likes to nap, a good outside nap, but she was there as part of the crowd as well. And it was a great group, like I said, peaceful in every way, great example of the power of the First Amendment, and an even better example, I think, of the duty we have, each of us, to use our voice and exercise our rights as Americans and as people to think and to express our thoughts without the interference from our government. I think it's a really, really important thing to do. And I'm going to kind of launch into this talking about the march itself and kind of my thoughts coming out of it and some of the comments that I've seen on social media from detractors of it. There was no counter-protest. There was no real opposition that day, although it had been widely publicized, so it would have been very easy to do, but nobody stepped in for that. But one of the people that was there, and somebody that I have come to know some as a community member and his friend, Dan Brigman, he has a great Substack, and I've linked to it in the show notes, so if you want to go read his entire post, it's there, but I'm going to steal some from Dan, and it's Brigman, Brigman. So if you're looking for it, Dan Brigman on Substack. He wrote the following as part of his Substack entry after the march. For the first time, I marched in protest against the attacks on our democracy. I marched with my wife and 300 other concerned citizens living in a nation that is quickly losing its way to an authoritarian, one that was voted in under false pretenses. He proclaimed falsely and absurdly that immigrants were eating cats and dogs. He proclaimed falsely that he knew nothing about the significantly unpopular Project 2025, despite its prevalence in the administration's planning. He proclaimed falsely that he would end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He proclaimed falsely that he would lower the price of groceries. He had been convicted of 34 felonies prior to winning the election by a slim plurality. he certainly didn't have a majority, and he certainly doesn't have a mandate. And within hours of his inauguration, he was pardoning lawbreakers who invaded the nation's capital on behalf of him to attempt to overthrow the 2020 election. Some of those lawbreakers had killed law enforcement professionals. The pardoning was done despite the GOP's constant and now false proclamation that it is the party of law and order. And he is allowing Musk, a terribly inept novice at politics and governance, to serve as an advisor with DOGE, a made-up governmental organization causing significant long-term damage to our society. Of course, Musk has purchased his way into that role with nearly $300 million spent toward the GOP's campaign. Since the invention of Citizens United, the U.S. has witnessed hyper-wealthy people such as Musk steer the nation in terribly selfish ways. Well said by Dan. And a lot more on his Substack over there, Dan Brigman, on Substack, and it's worth reading the whole piece. But he really hits the nail on the head in terms of sort of the core of some of the anger and angst and just general dislike of what is happening right now in the Trump administration. And, some folks want to point at a march like this and say it's a bunch of Soros-paid leftists who don't understand the lies of the loony left. And to those people, I say, pull your head out of your ass, because not one person there was some payroll fake protester, okay? These were folks. I knew most of the people there. These were community members. After the march, pictures and videos populated social media, and today the local paper published a great story on the event. We had teachers, community and business leaders, kids, teens, young adults, on and on and on. I saw folks, seniors, folks who I knew 20 years ago who were already senior citizens in our community, right? Marching right alongside. And it was a long march, down a hill and up a big hill, probably, like more than a half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile in length. It was warm, it was windy, and, I saw some folks take a break, right? Some older folks take a break, not stop, take a break, and they got back into it. It was an amazing cross-section of folks, and everyone came there with one purpose: to inject some positive change into the landscape. And to the folks who want to say it's a bunch of paid, lunatic liberal leftists who just want to turn kids into some type of weird sex slave orgy thing or whatever the hell they're peddling about that. There were religious leaders. There were church members. There was a prayer at the beginning. Not one person there was there to hurt anybody. Some of the detractors on social media were, I guess, curious, perhaps. I'll label it that. You can be the judge of their motive on your own, but they seemed very confused as to why people would be upset at all. What rights were we losing? What have they taken away? How could you possibly be angry right now? Some posited it's just about the leeches of society upset about losing benefits. First, and most obviously, to assume anyone receiving any form of government assistance is a leech or a parasite or a bum shows a kind of ignorance and privilege that blinds people from reality. Some of the biggest welfare recipients in the country, by the way, are farmers. So spare me with the leech crap. It's like asking why someone wants there to be a ramp next to the stairs to get into the building when the stairs work perfectly fine for them. Why could we possibly need a ramp? But more importantly, it impresses to me the level of belief that Trump has created. Just months ago, the cost of gas, eggs, inflation, everything that has been essentially unchanged since Trump's inauguration was all horrible and all Biden's fault and a reason to put somebody back into the office who had lied and disgraced it and attacked it to begin with. Now, objectively, it's still all horrible. Or, well, no, I'm sorry, not horrible, because now it's the patriotic sacrifice needed to improve the country. That quickly, it flips. That quickly. Stock market is in a nose dive. That quickly, it flips. Never mind that Trump lied to his supporters over and over and over again. Never mind that we had people in this country losing their basic due process afforded to all of us. Never mind that we have a president who leads by golfing while he lets Elon Musk play judge, jury, and executioner for government services. Never mind that we have a cabinet full of C students who struggle to understand the basics of the American system, a group of DUI hires stumbling and bumbling from blunder to blunder, plus what's left of the shell of Marco Rubio. But there we gathered under the shade of the old trees on the historic courthouse lawn. We listened and we prayed and we marched. A little under a mile, all of us, hundreds. Some people said as much as 400. Marching for family, marching for women, marching for men, for LGBTQ+, for kids, for healthcare, for education, for libraries, for democracy. Which spawned the most interesting comments. Folks who don't know why we would march for democracy when we live in a republic. It's one of my favorite phenomena of the last 10 years, the pop civics. It's like pop psychology, but for government. And as somebody who quite literally spent my 20s studying government and law, it would be funny if it wasn't so disheartening. The level of half-hearted education and still completely ignorant people who are traipsing around trying to explain that we don't live in a democracy, we live in a republic. So it leads me to a very simple Adam Civics moment, which maybe I need a drop for that, but my Adam Civics moment. A republic is, in fact, a Republican democracy, which puts it under the larger umbrella of democracy in general. It's like saying that humans aren't mammals. It's dumb, it's ill-informed, and it's just flat out wrong. This is the core problem with the online argument space. You cannot argue with someone whose core is malleable and based on what their chosen leader says from moment to moment. They accept war as peace, they accept chaos as order, they accept lies as truth, they accept cruelty as efficiency. I thought of those people and their claims of leeches as I marched and pushed my now 8-year-old daughter in her wheelchair up the steep hill along the route. As we had to climb stairs with others participating, helping lift the chair, the symbolism to me of what we need most of all was right there in front of me. Collective action, the core of power for the people, by the people. More and more folks are realizing that the fight we are in is not a fight of Democrats and Republicans. It is not a fight of liberals and conservatives. It is not a fight of left and right. It is a fight of money and people, a fight of oligarchy and democracy, a fight of the core founding principles from the Constitution. Which leads me to a quote from Alexander Hamilton, a core founding figure who, as any musical fan knows, wrote many of the Federalist Papers himself. And he had this to say: "When a man unprincipled in private life, desperate in his fortune, bold in his temper, possessed of considerable talents, having the advantage of military habits, despotic in his ordinary demeanor, known to have scoffed in private at the principles of liberty, when such a man is seen to mount the hobby horse of popularity, to join in the cry of danger to liberty, to take every opportunity of embarrassing the general government and bringing it under suspicion, to flatter and fall in with all the nonsense of the zealots of the day, it may justly be suspected that his object is to throw things into confusion, that he may ride the storm and direct the whirlwind." For those of you who don't speak the legalese of the late 1700s, what Hamilton said very bluntly is that there will come a day when somebody like Donald Trump, a true demagogue-like figure, will lie through his teeth to tell the people that he's on their side when he's not. That his object will be destruction, not liberty. That his object will be the end of the country, not continuation of democratic principles. Hamilton saw a Trump coming from 250 years away. Now, today, it is on us to make the storm too difficult to ride, to make the whirlwind impossible to direct. Until next time, be well. The process is made possible by listener support through Patreon. Go to patreon.com/theprocess or search The Process on Patreon. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for those of you who support me through Patreon to help me make this content and continue making it as long as possible. Enjoy American Aquarium, the world on fire. TV, trying to find some meaning, hoping that we'd wake up from this dream sometime tomorrow. Well, the night came and went, not a damn thing had changed. That's when I saw a tear fall from her eyes. She said, what are we gonna do? What's this world coming to? And for the first time in my whole life, I stood there speechless. The load is heavy and the road is long, and we've only begun to fight. We just can't give in. We just can't give up. We must go boldly into the darkness and be the light. So I packed up my car and went looking for answers to the questions weighing on my mind. When did the land of the free become the home of the afraid? Afraid of the world, afraid of the truth, afraid of each other. This ain't the country my grandfather fought for, but I still see the hate he fought against. Give rest to the tired, give mercy to the poor, give warmth to the huddled masses, and I'll show you freedom. The load is heavy and the road is long, and we've only begun to fight. We just can't give in. We just can't give up. We must go boldly into the darkness and be the light. I got a baby girl coming in the spring. I worry about the world she's coming into, but she'll have my fight. She'll have her mama's fire. If anyone builds a wall in her journey,